The dangers to health resulting from overweight have been shown convincingly by life insurance records. Life expectancy decreases as the amount of overweight increases. Excessive calorie intake is the cause of overweight. Consumption of calories in excess of body needs is the single most extensive nutritional problem affecting public health in this country. People should be informed that overweight is preventable. They should be given nutritional information which will help them to maintain their ideal weight throughout life.
Obesity itself is like just this gigantic economic force. It's a business force. There are businesses that thrive on how much people like to eat unhealthy foods. They're huge.
So right after you eat these meals, you have energy. But the energy lasts a very short period of time, and you're hungry much sooner. And then you have to eat again, and then you have to eat again, and then you have to eat again.
It is a lot cheaper to go eat fast food. I mean, definitely, you can buy a hamburger for cheaper than you can buy an apple.
That's very sad because you're telling me I have to pay more in order to eat healthy, and I can pay less in order to get fat and to make you rich, or for something that I might die off of.
It's unbelievable.
In the next 18 years, the number of obese people in the US is expected to rise to 42% of the adult population. That means about 32 million more Americans will become obese by 2030 compared to current levels.
From current results, an awful lot of Americans are eating and drinking pretty much whatever they want, regardless of their health. The Centers for Disease Control report that the number of obese Americans is now around 40%, and the severely obese are reaching toward 10%, which has some real economic effects.
CDC has released statistics that show people in more states are larger than ever. Here's how obesity rates looked in 2012. They range from low to moderate, with no states having an obesity rate above 35%. Now fast forward 10 years and the rates skyrocket above 35%. It's worse in Oklahoma, Louisiana, and West Virginia, where more than 40% of adults are considered obese. California has remained consistent in the 25 to 30% range. No state had a rate below 25% in the latest calculation.
In health news now, a new report showing an alarming trend out there in obesity across the U.S., and we want to talk about why this is happening.
America is the most medicated country in the world. While understanding that medicine is important for those with birth defects, handicaps, and other conditions, the majority of prescribed medication is treating the symptoms that come from an unhealthy lifestyle. The pharmaceutical industry has found a new cash cow, with the repeat customers of Americans relying on the drug equivalent of a patch job to live a more normal quality of life. In 2019, obese American adults paid on average $1,861 more per year than those of a normal BMI, with the healthcare system bringing in almost $173 billion from treating the symptoms of being overweight and obese.
A few years ago, I was writing about salt, and I went to the biggest companies and said, look, salt has become like this public enemy #1 because of its links to heart disease, and why aren't you cutting back on your use of salt? And Kellogg's, said to me, hey, come on in, we'll show you.
That's Michael Moss, journalist and author of Hooked, a book about how food giants exploit our addictions.
And we put some saltless cornflakes in the bowl. I didn't even know cornflakes had salt, but they do. But these saltless cornflakes went in our bowl, we put some milk on it, took a bite. And before I could say anything, the chief spokeswoman for Kellogg's was sitting there with me, and she gets this look of horror on her face, and she swallows and she blurts out, metal, I taste metal, M-E-T-A-L. And I was kind of thinking the same thing, which was one of my fillings had come out and was sloshing around. And the chief technical officer is sitting there too, and he's kind of in charge of all things scientific. He laughs and he goes, not all people will taste that, but one of the beautiful things about salt for us is that it will cover up some of the off-notes, bad taste that are inherent to kind of the manufacturing process. And so the reason you see so much salt, sugar, fat, and other sort of problematic ingredients in these products is that the companies are using those ingredients as part of the industrial process for the manufacturing, for the shelf life, things you don't need to worry about as a home company.
Every 5 years, the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee meets to review the relevant research and give the American public advice about the latest nutrition science, a process food conglomerates are attempting to sabotage as we speak.
I mean, in every possible way in which they can use their money and political power to encourage people to think their products are good.
So
and
what exactly are ultra-processed foods? We asked molecular biologist and nutritionist Mary Nessel.
These are foods that are industrially produced. They require machinery and they require ingredients that you don't have access to. So industrially produced, designed to be irresistibly delicious, that's their purpose. Corn on the cob is unprocessed. Canned corn, frozen corn are processed. Doritos are ultra-processed.
It's not just junk food, to be clear. Many breakfast cereals, granola and protein bars, diet foods, frozen dinners, sauces, and yogurt fit the ultra-processed label and are implicated in causing disease.
That backs up the idea that obesity is a chronic, progressive disease.
Over 100 different variations in DNA have been identified that mean that some people will become obese, whereas other people will be protected. We also know that once a person has developed obesity, it's almost impossible to lose that weight and keep it off. What happens is the body tries to go back to the highest weight that you ever reached.
Steve Parrish, the general counsel, we were sitting and chatting, and he said to me, you know, Michael, I'm one of those lucky people who could smoke one cigarette a day, put the pack away and not have any compulsion to pull it out again until the next business meeting or the next day, whatever. But I couldn't go near a bag of our Oreo cookies for fear of losing control and eating half the bag in one setting. And it was like so revealing to me because it reinforced in me that they know. I mean, the heads of these companies don't eat their own products.
And it's more than just genetics and processed foods.
If you don't have access to healthy and nutritious foods that are affordable, if your community doesn't have the full service grocery stores that provide those types of foods, or if you don't live in communities where physical activity is actually easy and safe.
And you know, the reason this is a national public health issue is because of all the problems obesity is associated with: heart disease, diabetes, and stroke, and even some cancers.
It turns out that some of the biggest food companies were owned by tobacco companies until the mid-2000s. Philip Morris owned Kraft and General Foods. R.J. Reynolds owned Nabisco until Philip Morris eventually bought that too. So it's no wonder why the same misinformation playbook is being used. What I really wanted to know was, how far do the similarities go? Did the execs at Philip Morris coach Kraft on how to hide the health consequences of their products? Did they go even further and actively try to get people hooked on their products?
My name is Tara Fazzino. I'm an assistant professor of psychology at the University of Kansas. For a number of years now, I've studied what are called hyperpalatable foods, and they have combinations of nutrients that typically don't occur in nature, and so they tend to be really rewarding to consume in kind of an unnatural way. So we may find ourselves continuing to eat these foods even though we're getting physiological signals telling us, oh, please stop, we've had enough.
We eliminate food deserts in this country, and we need to do it now.
You don't need to travel far from the White House, just a few miles, to find what Michelle Obama describes as a food desert. Plenty of liquor stores, but no fresh food. Southeast DC has one of the worst obesity rates in the country.
The food that you put in your body can either heal you or kill you.
On a Saturday morning, the Ward 8 Farmers Market is a small oasis in an otherwise barren food landscape.
Know what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Lauren Vanderpool, a Washington, D.C. native and vegan chef, is giving a demonstration, teaching residents how to make a raw food salad.
So, this is a raw food dish, and now raw foods are good because when you cook your foods, a lot of times the enzymes and the nutrients are released into the water.
The food industry doesn't want any suggestion in dietary guidelines of eating less of their products. It's really simple.
And know that anyone has the power to make improvements in their health and weight. racking up little wins by making lifestyle changes such as better sleep hygiene, which alone can be life-changing, giving you more energy and even willpower through the day, and has been proven to help lose weight. Picking up good habits such as morning walks and learning the macronutrients and accurate calorie intake can have a snowball effect in improving mental and physical health by all metrics.
One of the first studies linking tobacco to cancer was done in 1950. It wasn't until 1998 that the tobacco companies conceded and struck a deal to pay states for the medical damage they'd done and stop their aggressive and deceptive marketing practices. If we don't start now, we won't get another chance to set the record straight until 2029.